Okay, been a minute, huh? काफी time हो गया actually 2 साल हो गए ढंग से वीडियो बनाए हुए. But anyway, there's one thing I've been observing, and I think this has been universal. हर जगह मैं same ही चीज़ देख रहा हूँ. In my friends, in the people that I meet randomly and observe on street, and that's the fact that I think we've been getting restless and more anxious by the day. I see it in people tapping their legs in middle of the conversation, या फिर biting their nails in middle of the conversation, smoking cigarettes. And my hypothesis is primarily because of our digital diet and the way we consume the internet, or rather the internet consuming us. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to share my strategy of navigating the internet and arguably most of our lives, given that we spend it online. This has been pivotal in me getting into India's best college, getting a gold medal from there, getting into India's best B school, and then arguably into world's best consulting firm. काफी ज़्यादा ही self-marketing हो गया है ये. But anyway, bottom line is I don't think I'm special. I believe anybody can do this if given the right tools and the right mindset. And I'm here for the latter two. Essentially, there are 4 components to this strategy. And if you stick around till the end, I'm going to make sure this is worth your time. Let's get this started. Okay, I like to think of the internet as the ocean. Like the ocean, it is vast and all-encompassing. There are pockets of the ocean which are absolutely amazing, like the coral reefs. Same for the internet. Then there are pockets which are dangerous. They might have sharks in them. Then there are some which are just absolutely trash, thanks to our pollution. So you want to navigate internet in such a way that we spend most of our time in the beautiful side and avoid going into places which have sharks and trash in them, right? So we're gonna do it in 4 ways, as I said earlier. First is to have a great submarine, not a boat, but a submarine. The second is to have a great control center for the submarine, which will help you navigate the submarine. Third is to have the captain's diary or the decision-making toolkit, or the second brain, if you will. Fourth is using specialized equipments like radar to derive the most value from the ocean. These 4 things will become very clear once I keep developing on this analogy. Okay, the first bit is about having a submarine. It's the very thing that you will use to navigate the ocean, which is your laptop, not your phone, your laptop. Again, thinking first principles, phone is primarily a communication device. It's supposed to be on you all the time. Of course, because it's on you all the time, you can do other things like order food, order cab, but that's the utility. In this analogy, it will be like a lifeboat on the submarine, something that can navigate the ocean if needed, but that's not its primary purpose. One more analogy that I want to give here is this idea of doom scrolling, what we do in our phones, right? In this analogy, it is like drowning in the ocean. Drowning is not a nice feeling. You're not in control. Anything can spawn randomly while you're drowning and you're just observing whatever comes up to you. And you don't want that. You want to be in the driver's seat. You want to be the one navigating the ocean, right? And not drown in it. So just putting reminders on your phone. 90 minutes is ideal, 2 hours, not more than that, essentially. You know, organizing your home screen, notification settings, all that good stuff. And trying to make sure that most of your time is actually spent on the laptop. And in terms of the laptop, the submarine that you will use, you want something that can wither the storms of the ocean. It's well equipped, well built. My recommendation would be the MacBook. I've been using this since my college days. That's my MBA. I used to use Windows earlier, but then Windows operating system and the computers are like a ship. They scratch the surface of the ocean for the most bit. The MacBook, in my opinion, is very well built. It has great battery, great display, and in general, my productivity has gone up many folds. Most of my audience is actually students, and if you are one, investing in a MacBook will be a great thing to do, especially with the new M4 chip in the Air series. It's sure to last you for years to come. So I would highly recommend it. They also have an offer going on called Back to School on their website, so you can probably go check it out as well. Now moving on to the non-obvious bit, that is the control center of the submarine, which is essentially your browser. And for this, I would recommend Arc by the browser company. I used to use Chrome earlier, but Chrome के साथ problem ये है कि Chrome में बहुत सारी tabs एक के बाद एक खुल जाती हैं और कुछ really you don't feel like you're developing on your work. When I shifted to Arc in 2022, the thing that I really like about Arc is this idea of spaces, right? Because every single one of us will have 4 or 5 interests, right? Parts of the ocean that you want to go and explore. For me personally, I have 4 spaces inside of Arc. One is called business, the other one is art or creativity, you can call it. Third is tourism or travel, and fourth is just amusement. each space inside of Arc has their own set of pinned websites. So for business, I have things like Economic Times, Screener, where I can screen different companies and how they're doing in the public markets. You have N-Tracker just to follow the startup news, and some other websites that I find useful. But essentially, this is the space when I'm inside of the business space, I'm just looking at the developments that are happening in the economy as a whole, which is something that I enjoy thanks to my education. And then the second is creative space or the art space, where I like to create videos, this YouTube channel of sorts, where I like to see other creators and what they are creating, mood board little ideas. So I have some websites which are pinned, which could be my YouTube studio or certain assets from Pinterest, etc. There are some music assets, again, bunch of websites that I find useful. Then the third is the travel space, which I used a lot when I was traveling for my exchange terms. So I had booking.com, hostel, and all of these stuff. Now I don't use it that much because everything is taken care of by the firm, but essentially a space like that. And then there is amusement, which is just completely जब मुझे मजे करने होते हैं, but I still want to mindfully do मजे. So Hotstar, Netflix, YouTube, stuff like that is there, which I go and check out. But when I'm in that space of the internet, I know that that's what's happening. There are some websites जो मुझे हर space में चाहिए होती हैं, जैसे YouTube, ChatGPT, Notion, which we will get to in a bit. All these websites you can pin at the very top, and they're present across all the spaces. In general, I just find Arc to be a very intuitive browser. For everything, there is just one command, Command T. It helps me really be in my zone and be productive. I feel like I'm more in control when I'm navigating the ocean. This is like the most intuitive design of the submarine control center that you will. Even just making this would really put you ahead of the curve by some considerable margin. Okay, third is to have the captain's diary or the manual, right? Personal diary, because at the end of the day, you can have all the tools you want, but if the captain is not making the right decisions, it's not of much use. And for that, I recommend Notion. I started using Notion back in 2022, and what I use Notion primarily as, भाई सीटियों पे सीटी बज रही है, कैसे ये वीडियो बनेगा? Never mind. Anyway, भाई Ben Stokes. I've stuck around so far. I think power to you. I love you. Thanks for sticking around. Anyway, the way I use Notion is as my second brain. I like to dump everything that I have in terms of my filmmaking ideas, my journal entries. I used to journal from back in the day also, पर मैं पहले pen paper में लिखता था. And then I realized the search cost is very high. मैं लिख रहा हूँ पर मुझे मिल नहीं रही हैं चीजें जो मुझे फिर से पढ़नी है. So Notion is very good for that. I have like a repository of micro journal entries that I've made in buses, in classrooms, etc. Besides all of that, I also have all the documents that I find useful from my studies and from my internet browsing sessions. Basically, point of this is to kind of deposit all the knowledge that I have in a place and that I can access it easier. I mean, I'm all for the fact कि हमें चीजें memorize नहीं करनी है. We can always look it up on the internet. But to be honest, finding something useful on the internet is also a task. That search cost is very high. Whether it is well-written articles or good YouTube videos like this one, hopefully. So whatever I find useful, I put it in different pages and different spaces that I have inside of Notion, and later on I can just search quickly. So that is something that I use it for. The main benefit of this is over time I started seeing that I'm getting much more reflective in my thinking because I had this database of journal entries or of my ideas for filmmaking, etc. I could go back and when I read them, I could find patterns and that helped me develop on my thinking. नहीं तो ये हो नहीं पाता है. नहीं तो क्या होता है, साल चले जाते हैं, महीने चले जाते हैं, but पता नहीं चलता कि मैं क्या सीख रहा हूँ या मैं क्या कैसे grow कर रहा हूँ. It's just random things happening all the time, which I don't like. So as a second brain is what I think of Notion. Finally, the fourth thing is specialized equipments that you have inside of submarine to make the most of it. It could be a radar, right? Radar. It could be a radar or anything that helps it perform its function better. Similarly, in whatever industry you want to deep dive in, for instance, if you're a creator, Premiere Pro is a software that becomes core to your development, right? And if you are a consultant, Excel and PPT become core, which is something that I spend a lot of time learning. Whichever industry you're in, I'm sure there will be a software or two which are pivotal to that industry. So spending a lot of time in mastering that software will go a long way. I don't want to make a generalized statement because ये software हर किसी के लिए different होता है, so let's not deep dive too much on it. But that's the fourth bit, which is to identify the pivotal software in the industry you're in or you want to target in, and then mastering it. If you do these four things right, these four things are very simple. They're simple but not easy. In this framework, if you start thinking about things, trust me, you will get so far ahead from the rest because most of the people will end up inevitably just scrolling random things that come to them. They're just drowning. But once you realize this analogy and act on it, you will go so far into deep parts of the ocean where real treasure lies. See you in the next Vibe Anshu video. Bye.